Hey, everybody. Welcome to Basic as Football. I'm Brandon Marcello. This is my wife, Amanda Marcello. I'm a, hello, we're shaking hands.
I thought that's what you were doing.
I'm a college football reporter. She is my wife, and she enjoys sports.
My wife.
Yeah, my wife. But she's not, into it as deep in the weeds as I am. But we're changing things up because football's in the off season right now. But March Madness is here. In fact, first 4 games are going on right now as we're recording this.
Yeah,
And
hurry up.
I thought we would. Yeah, there was a
Hurry
great
up, let's
first
get back
game.
down.
Alabama State with an incredible game and win. We're going to go through our brackets. We made our picks for the NCAA tournament, and I'm a casual observer of college basketball now since.
Wow. If you're a casual observer, then I am a
I don't know.
yikes.
Yeah. So
Yikes.
I probably watch more basketball than you, but
I mean, it's on and I'm there.
Yeah.
But, okay.
I don't follow college basketball as close as I used to when I was an actual beat reporter covering a single team. In fact, like the last team I covered ended up going to the Final Four, Auburn, back in 2019. So I've just watched college basketball casually, as you do with college football, but I get into it.
But you have better background.
Yeah, and I get more into it as the season goes along, especially when you get into February and March, like we're in right now. So
Can I be completely honest? And I've never admitted this out loud to anybody ever, so let me put it on the internet for everybody.
Mm-hmm.
Basketball's too fast for me.
Okay.
Like in football, there's a lot going on, but there's a lot of time between plays where I can sit and ask a more experienced watcher, fan.
Mm-hmm.
There's more time to ask questions, I feel.
Yeah.
They break down each play. Typically, the commentators, the color guys, color analysis guys. I feel like there's more explanation. They draw on the screen. I don't get that in basketball, so it's been harder for me my whole life to absorb more of the ins and outs of basketball. Does that make sense?
I can understand that, but
Yeah.
do you know the differences between like man defense and zone
Man
defense?
and zone. Yeah, I got that. I've got that.
Like
I at least have that.
A lot of that stuff it just comes pretty simple. Certain screens, high ball screens,
over my head.
backdoor cuts.
I'm out. I'm out.
Yeah, so I mean, a lot goes into it. Like the plays
Yeah.
get drawn up, especially when you're inbounding the ball, or just really that's like really where I really pay attention is like inbound plays, what coaches draw up, especially late in games during timeout. Sometimes they just draw stuff up that maybe they haven't necessarily practiced, or it's a different look from what they look at. So I always look at that when we talk about good coaches in college basketball. That's kind of what I look for.
So would you say that they're more on the fly than football coaches? Because I feel like football coaches have like a set playbook.
Yeah, to a certain extent. I mean, so does college basketball
does
coaches.
too,
I
but
mean,
it
they're running
feels-
when they're playing game time. I mean, they're running sets that are pretty much what they've practiced over and over and over again.
Yeah, but I feel like
And
there's
you'll see
more
the coaches
wiggle room.
raising fingers up or whatever,
Yeah.
signifying what they're playing or even what type of defense they're in. I mean, these guys practice like crazy, these sets.
No, yes, I know, but I just feel like it's more basketball feels more fluid.
Oh, yeah.
Like
I mean, if you're
way
a basketball player and you have the ball in your hand and you see an opening, you take it.
more. Yeah,
You know?
it just seems it's just harder to get a grip for
Yeah,
me as a
certainly.
viewer.
Certainly. So
Anyway,
the NCAA tournament this year has been like a record year when we talk about just elite teams. We talk about analytics. There's a lot of analytics involved in basketball because people are always trying to get a head start on seeding the tournament. It's a 68-team tournament. And so there's websites and folks kind of like KenPom, which I believe is like the crown jewel of everything, that kind of goes about analytically looking at teams, and he gives them like a net efficiency rating. And this year has been a record year for the teams on top, and especially for one conference, the SEC. The SEC had a record 14 teams.
I saw that.
In the tournament this year. The old record from the Big East, 11 teams. So shattered that record. Only 2 teams in the SEC didn't make it. Do you know which ones they are?
So right before you were testing the audio and stuff, I was racking my brain because I was determined not to cheat. South Carolina,
Mm-hmm.
LSU.
That's right. Those 2 teams.
I did it.
You're exactly right.
Whew.
And South Carolina actually had a couple of impressive wins in the SEC this year. And actually, I'm thinking the non-conference, they actually beat Clemson as well. And Clemson's a higher seed team
Yeah.
in the NCAA tournament this year. So it tells you just how deep and good the SEC was. In fact, the average net efficiency ranking in the SEC, I think it was plus 22 point something, whatever. It's the highest ever in the KenPom era, which started in the early 2000s. So just an incredible year. And when you look at the number, and I say that to say this, when you look at the number 1 seeds or even number 2 seeds in the NCAA tournament bracket this year, a lot of people believe they're far and away so much better than everybody else in the field. And so people, when they're picking their brackets, which we've got right here, a lot of them going chalk, which means they're going with the higher seed teams, the better teams.
Okay. I feel
Not a lot of upsets.
okay. I feel better then.
Okay.
That's kind of what I did.
Hey, listen,
going on vibes alone.
I had to go on vibes for a couple of picks of my own, and we're going to go through these. We're not going to go like necessarily game by game. I just want to go with like who's your round of 32 teams and all that stuff.
Okay.
But there are some really incredible first round matchups. I can't wait to see them. You guys might be at this point have already seen them or whatever, but so many good first round games.
And we'll be
coming
proven wrong and quickly
up.
humbled.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, most definitely. Because like I said, I'm just a casual viewer.
Yeah.
I don't really know the ins and outs. I know a lot about like Arkansas because they're in our backyard, and Auburn because I used to cover Auburn, and
Right.
I like following them from afar. So, and I mean, listen, to take Auburn to a Final Four is like taking Vanderbilt to the college football playoff, in my opinion. And Auburn, I think the betting favor, or at least was at one point, to win the national championship this year in basketball. That'd be like Vanderbilt winning the national championship of the college football playoff, in my opinion. I that's just incredible what the job Bruce Pearl's done, but they have not been playing very well, in fact. Auburn, the number 1 overall seed, when we talk about the 4 number 1 seeds in all the regions, Auburn, the number 1 seed, the first team ever to lose 3 of their last 4 games.
I was about to say they've not done well going into the tournament.
They've lost 3 of their last 4 games, and they are still the number 1 overall seed. It just tells you how good their resume was. We're talking about the analytics going into this tournament. So
you want to talk about quads? Because that also...
No, we're not talking about crap. So your number 1 seeds,
Good.
2 from the SEC, Auburn and Florida are 2 number 1 seeds. They're actually on the same side of the bracket. So if those 2 number 1s were to win out, they'd meet in the Final Four. Then your other number 1 seeds on the other side of the bracket are Duke, which many believe is probably the top team in the country right now, and then also Houston, which has been on a roll most of the season this year and has been playing very consistently. But a lot of people going into this tournament, heavy on Florida. They won the SEC tournament championship. They've beaten Auburn, the number 1 team in the country, on the road by a healthy margin earlier this year, and they've just been analytically off the charts here of late. So we're not going to go by, here's your, Louisville versus Creighton. We're just going to say we're going to go up and down, starting with the South region. Who do you got in your round of 32 on the second day, starting in the South? What is your first matchup there?
Are you talking about this one?
Yes.
Okay.
The one at the top that's first.
Who do I pick out of that game?
What are the 2 teams in that?
Auburn and Louisville.
Okay, Auburn versus Louisville. Okay, I got Auburn versus Creighton.
Okay.
Down below, I have Michigan against Texas A&M.
That's what I have.
Great. Ole Miss versus Iowa State.
Same.
New Mexico versus Michigan State.
Same.
Wow. Florida.
Look at me.
Well, and then we'll go down to the West bracket. Florida versus UConn.
Yep.
Wow. Colorado State versus Maryland.
Wrong.
Okay, who you got?
Memphis.
Memphis
and
versus Maryland.
Yep.
Okay, Missouri versus Texas Tech.
Yep.
Okay, Kansas versus St. John's.
Wrong.
Okay, well, you, of course,
Buzzer. Yeah, wrong.
had to pick
Wrong.
Arkansas. Arkansas against Kansas. Hall of Fame coach Bill Self against John Calipari. In prime time, it's going to get big ratings and everything. Arkansas played Kansas in an exhibition game earlier this year, not a regular season game. Kansas was shorthanded. Arkansas beat them pretty handily. Now Arkansas is shorthanded, though they're getting one of their leading scorer back for the first time since January, Boogie Fland. He's going to play in this game maybe 10 to 15 minutes. So I can understand why you'd pick Arkansas there, but I'm going to go with Kansas. Has Hunter Dickinson, a lot of experience. Okay.
Quit cheating. You're
I'm
looking
not
at my
cheating.
You're looking at my bracket. Quit cheating.
Okay, so we're going to go off of that into the Sweet 16 and these 2 on this side of the bracket, okay?
Okay, I'm with you.
Starting with the South, I've got Auburn versus Texas A&M in the Sweet 16.
Me too.
All right. Ole Miss versus Michigan State.
Iowa State, Michigan State.
Okay. Do you know why you picked that? Just vibes?
Yeah,
Okay.
probably.
I picked Ole Miss over Iowa State going to the Sweet 16 because Iowa State is lost one of their better players to injury. It's not going to play in this tournament. Iowa State's been up and down throughout the season. Ole Miss.
Well, that would have been good to know.
There you go. Ole Miss can score the basketball. I really love their guards, and they've been battle-tested incredibly in the SEC this year, and they have some very impressive wins this year in the SEC, including an upset, I think, against Alabama.
Is that where Chris Beard is?
Yes.
Oh.
He's one of the best coaches in America, I believe.
Fantastic.
As well. So
my apologies, Chris Beard.
Well, so there you go. And then down the line into the West region, Florida versus Maryland in the Sweet 16.
Yep.
Texas Tech versus St. John's in the Sweet 16.
Mizzou and Arkansas.
Ugh.
I know. Listen, have you ever been filling out a bracket? Because I fill one out every year. I don't know what I'm doing.
Mm-hmm.
And you get to a certain point where you're like, I have set myself up for just terrible matchups here. Like,
oh yeah,
you've picked too many upsets, and then you have to pay the consequences, and you're like, okay,
yeah.
this is terrible. This is awful.
Yeah,
and
sure.
That's what's happening.
That's what's weird about this year's bracket, in my opinion, is I think a lot of folks, including us, so far we've matched up quite well. A lot of chalk in this, and this bracket sets up for some weird upsets this year, and we're picking a lot of chalk.
See, but I'm trying to pick some weird upsets too. I think you're going to
Okay.
see that next. You're going to see that next.
Mizzou versus Arkansas. They've played in the regular season twice already. Mizzou blew out Arkansas in Mizzou. Arkansas beat Mizzou in a closer game in Fayetteville when they were trying to make a push to get into the NCAA tournament. All right, the Elite Eight in the South region. That is the regional championship game to get to the Final Four in the South. I've got Auburn versus Michigan State.
I got Auburn and Iowa State.
Okay. Vibes again?
Yeah, I mean, knowing what I know now about Iowa State, I wish I could take it back, but
can't.
the internet lives forever.
Yeah.
So
Could have researched it, looked around a little bit.
timeout. Pray tell, when would I have researched this?
I don't know.
You
I
proposed
found
this. Well, this is also part of your job, and
I don't cover college basketball.
you're more into like your
I'm more
timeline.
into sports.
Your
okay.
timeline is more consumed with that. I'm consumed with mom stuff
Okay.
and like a shower for the kid's teacher for her upcoming wedding, like that. Come on, like let's compare apples to wedding
Okay.
showers here.
Now, okay, so I can understand why you pick Auburn to get to the Elite Eight, but you've got Iowa State in there, which was a popular pick before the injury. So
Okay.
there you
All
go.
right.
And then in the West Regional Championship, I've got Florida against Texas Tech.
Florida and Mizzou.
Okay, listen, Mizzou, believe it or not, a year ago was winless in the SEC.
Hey,
Winless. And now
Hey,
they're a number
crap,
60
look
in
at
the
you.
NCAA tournament.
Look at you, Mizzou.
Dennis Gates, big-time coach for them. All right, so that are our regional championships in the South and West. We'll get to the Final Four once we go to the other side of the bracket here. So
Perfect.
First round, starting at the top in the East region,
I caught that tone, Mr. Marcello.
Duke versus Baylor in the round of 32.
Yep.
You do not have – oh, yes, you do. Okay, sorry. Oregon versus Arizona.
Yeah.
BYU versus Wisconsin.
I don't know who VCU is. But-
Virginia Commonwealth University.
Yeah, let's go.
I could see that. I almost picked VCU myself. They're
Yeah.
a very good team. BYU has an electric offense. They love to shoot the three. That's a difficult matchup for me to predict as well. Vanderbilt versus Alabama in an SEC on SEC matchup in the second round.
I got Vandy, Alabama.
Okay. Wow, you marked one. You marked a couple out there?
Yeah.
You changed your mind?
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
Just vibes. Well, I
Okay.
think because I was looking.
You had St. Mary's in there, but you went back to Vanderbilt.
Yeah.
Just vibes.
Well, because what's the phrase you're using? Chalk? Is that
Chalk.
when you're going with just the higher seed?
Higher seed, the better seed.
I think I felt like I was doing that too much, and I
And so you picked Vandy.
got to throw an upset in there.
I went with that was a close game for me too, and I picked Vandy because they're more battle tested. Vandy has struggled here down the stretch a little bit. They've even been blown out at home by an SEC opponent. But St. Mary's doesn't have a lot of like top 25 games on their resume.
And also, can I be completely honest? Because Vandy had that pretty good football year, didn't they, this year? Wasn't that
Yeah.
this year? I'd like for them to have a little bit of success in basketball and like have that little feather in their cap.
If Diego Pavier, the quarterback, plays point guard for Vanderbilt, I'd be on board as well. But I also got Vanderbilt in the round of 32. So
Yeah.
Houston, we're going to the Midwest regional round of 32. Houston versus Gonzaga.
Yeah.
All right.
You always got to pick Gonzaga.
Yeah, this has been probably one of their worst years under Mark Few.
Oh no.
Yeah, they had to win their conference tournament to probably even get into the field. But you look at the metrics, like I think every national champion in the Ken Palm era has been ranked in the top 21 offensively and like top 31 defensively, something like that. I'm probably getting them wrong, so that's why you come to the source, right? I don't cover college basketball.
He covers football, guys. Come on.
Give me a break. I'm more casual in this episode than ever before.
It's like listening to me talk about football.
The big time programs that are like number 1, number 2 seeds are up there, but like the lone outlier is Gonzaga. Like they meet all the efficiency qualifications to win a national championship this year. It's very weird. So keep that in mind when you're picking games. Going further down, McNeese versus Purdue. All right.
I did that too.
You both picked upset. 5-12 upset.
I love a 5-12 upset. Although I heard you talking to somebody, or was it to me the other day? I
Yeah.
was talking about the 5-12s.
Last year, we did not have a single 5-12 upset.
Okay.
And that's very rare in the modern era here.
Is that my first 5-12? I think that is.
Probably so.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think so. Another popular one, honestly, one that I almost picked myself was in the South region, UC San Diego over Michigan. I almost picked that, but Michigan playing very well, obviously just won the Big Ten tournament championship. Okay, going further down here in the Midwest regional, Illinois versus Kentucky.
I don't know. I picked the play-in.
Okay, so you got the winner of Texas Xavier. That, hey, I'm going to be honest with you, that's been a popular pick I've seen from experts as well.
Okay.
Because Texas...
Is that game going on now, or is that game already over?
That goes on after this is recording, like the next day.
Oh, okay.
So Texas has not played very well, but they got a superstar freshman who can score in bunches, and they've had some pretty good games in the SEC, and they're battle-tested. Xavier, not so much. And then also...
But Xavier's one of those teams that's always in the tournament, right?
Yeah.
Like a Xavier,
pretty
a
much.
Gonzaga,
Yeah.
UConn. Like they're a basketball.
And Illinois up and down this year.
Okay.
And
I like it then.
So
I stand by it.
that's fine. Yeah, I don't have any issues. Like don't have many issues with your picks so far, even just as a casual myself in basketball. All right, and then the very bottom here, UCLA versus Tennessee in the round of 32.
Yeah.
All right, so we're on a roll
We're
there.
aligned. Look at us.
Sweet 16 East Regional, Duke versus Arizona,
Yep.
Wisconsin versus Alabama.
Same.
How about that? See, a lot of chalk. Midwest region, Houston versus Purdue.
Gonzaga versus Purdue.
Oh, wow. You got Gonzaga beating Houston.
I do.
A team that a lot of people believe is the number 1 team in the country.
You've said that about so many teams.
I know. You can make an argument for 4 or 5 teams should be number 1 this year right now going into the tournament. They are a number 1 seed. You've got Gonzaga as the 8 seed beating Houston?
Yeah, I needed another upset.
Yeah.
It was too chalky in here. I needed more upsets.
Okay. All right. So,
I don't know.
and then
Watch Houston win it all.
maybe Kentucky, Tennessee,
Yeah.
and the other one there.
That's what I got. Yeah.
Again, matching up quite a bit. The Elite 8, the East Regional Final, Duke versus Alabama.
I have Duke, Wisconsin.
This is weird. I don't know if you did research or not. I don't know.
I did zero research.
I've seen people picking Wisconsin over Alabama.
I tell you what, the research I did was inside the CBS Sports app, where I looked at like the
Oh, you did that? You looked at the matchups.
I looked at
through the
but just
app.
like points per opponent, points per game, like all that stuff.
Yeah.
And I didn't like unlock the picks or like see what the experts picked or anything, but I just kind of like looked at whatever those 5 stats were right there, like their kind of like their record versus common teams and all that. And if I liked it, I kind of picked it. And sometimes I didn't. I mean, but I did look at that for most matchups.
Historically, Wisconsin been such a low-scoring team, but now they've changed their offense under a different coach. They're scoring a lot of points. I think it's their highest scoring average season since the 1970s, if I recall seeing that right on the Big Ten Tournament Championship broadcast, if I recall. So that's a good upset pick potentially. And Alabama's defense, one of the worst in this tournament. So that's a popular upset to pick. So I got Duke, Alabama.
Well, another reason, sorry to cut you off. The other reason I picked Wisconsin was it was feeling a little too SEC-y.
Okay. Well, there's 14 teams in here.
I know, but we were getting close to the end, and I was like,
That's
we got to start
25% of the bracket.
Yeah.
right?
I don't
Am
know.
doing my math right?
No.
64 teams.
Wake our
14.
child and ask him.
Yeah, exactly. No, it's not 25%. What am I talking about? Okay.
But it was it was getting to be a little bit like, am I going to have the whole Final Four be the SEC? Like, this is getting a little outrageous.
I haven't seen that from a lot of people.
Yeah, so I was like, one of these guys has got to go.
All right, Midwest Regional Championship game in the Elite Eight. Houston versus Tennessee.
Gonzaga versus Purdue.
Wait, what?
Oh, wait, what?
No.
You skipped. Oh, wait, I skipped.
You
I'm on the wrong
skipped.
place.
Yep.
My
Good
bad.
job.
My bad, guys. Gonzaga versus Kentucky.
Okay. Kentucky, high-scoring team, inconsistent defensively. They've been dealing with a lot of injuries up and down this year. I wonder how healthy they are. And Gonzaga meets those efficiency kind of qualifications to win a national championship. So maybe.
Who knows?
All right. So let's go to our Final Four. All right.
Let's do it.
Left side of the bracket, I've got Auburn versus Florida, SEC.
Same.
Okay.
Auburn versus Florida.
All right. And then on the other side of the bracket, I've got Duke versus Houston.
You chalked it up, the whole thing?
Yep.
The confidence.
That's I'm telling you.
I did Duke, Kentucky.
Okay. Why are you so high on Kentucky?
I'm not.
Are you just going with brand awareness?
No. Well, maybe. That's honestly why Gonzaga made it that far in my bracket. I'll be honest with you.
Brand bias.
I don't know.
Okay. So
I'm not a professional. Why are you asking me hard questions?
I don't know. National championship game. Who you got in there? Who is what's the
Florida
matchup?
and Duke.
Florida versus Duke. I could see that. I've got Florida against Houston.
Okay.
Again, I think Houston's been the most consistent team that's been ranked number 1 at some point this season.
Okay.
And maybe that'll transfer over to the tournament where game after game after game, they're going to be able to get through it.
Or maybe they'll run out of steam. You don't run out of steam.
Okay, sure.
I don't know. I'm just trying to be contrarian.
So I've got Florida versus Houston. You've got Florida versus Duke. Who do you have as your national champion?
Florida.
I've got Florida as well. Florida. Yeah, sure enough. Okay. Why did you pick Florida?
SEC bias, completely honest with you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You saw them.
completely
Do you
honest
see
with
them play at all in the SEC championship game?
Do not recall. Plead the fifth.
This wasn't the championship game, but I think it's semifinals. They blew out Alabama. I mean, blew them like off the floor.
I'm sure it was on in our house, but I don't recall absorbing anything from it.
And in the SEC championship game, I want to be quite honest with you, I don't remember who they play. Oh, they played Tennessee. And they pretty much kept that at arm's length in the second half, and then Tennessee tried to make a push, but Florida's just too much. Florida's probably got the best guards out of any team in this tournament, and they've got a really good big man. That's why they're so good. And usually in a tournament-like atmosphere, the ones with the best guards are usually the ones that win.
Dumb question alert. What is a guard? What's their job?
A guard, they're usually the smaller guys on the floor.
Okay.
So you have
like a little Kareem Reed.
Sure.
He was one of my favorite players back in the day.
I
loved him.
You have a point guard, which is kind of like your quarterback in basketball. They're the one that usually brings the ball up the court.
Okay, I knew that.
Facilitating the offense, raising their hand up, calling things, moving guys around, and the offense starts with them, and they pass it around. Shooting guards, more of the off-guard guy who people try to screen to get open to take some shots or maybe drive to the basket. And then you got combo guards, which could be someone that plays point guard sometimes, shooting guard sometimes, kind of you never know who's going to bring the ball up the court or whatever. But in this day and age, you pretty much everybody's a combo guard. Where if you're playing the guard spots, you can move guys around. In fact, I think Houston did that in the Big 12 tournament. I was talking to my colleague Dennis Dodd about that. They did that in the Big 12 tournament. They put the ball in someone else's hands and started pushing the basket, and that's where they were able to win the championship game.
Okay.
To kind of catch their opponent off guard. So
off guard.
I'll be honest with you; those are pretty good picks, at least in my opinion. But I don't know. I really don't know because I'm just casual as you with this.
Yeah.
But Florida is the very popular pick.
Are we going to put a wager on between us?
Well, we're in a bracket in the neighborhood.
No, I know, but like just us.
Oh no.
Yeah. Come on.
I don't know.
Oh, come on.
How much money?
No, it doesn't even have like.
All right,
somebody does
wager?
dishes or something. Like I don't know. Like yeah.
How dare you?
Yeah. I don't know. We got to come up with something though.
Okay.
That'd be fun.
All right, we'll come up with something. Quick stats here.
Okay.
All right, number 16 seeds have beaten the number 1 seed only twice in history, but it's all happened here recently in the last 7 years.
Go Gonzaga.
And so
Oh, wait, no,
we
I
shall
don't
see.
have that.
Gonzaga's not a 16 seed, sweetheart.
Edit that out. Thank you.
I'm not editing it out.
Ba-ba-ba-da-ba-da-ba-ba-da.
So 1 seeds are 154-2 all time against 16 seeds.
Wow.
You rarely get a 15 seed upsetting a number 2 seed in the first round. 2 seeds are 145-11. So very difficult to see upsets when you're talking about the top 4 seeds. Top 4 seeds have won the bulk of those games. And then you start getting that 5-12 territory, but the 5-12 territory is still 101-55 for the 5 seeds over the 12 seeds. So there you go. And in this year and the way things have gone in college basketball, I don't think it's a stretch to say it's okay to pick chalk because, as I said, like the top 12 teams in the country were pretty widely viewed analytically as far and beyond a wide gap between them and the rest of the country.
Yeah.
And we shall see. We're in this new era of college athletics where, because of NIL money and the transfer portal, the talent's been consolidated, the elite talent, and they're going to the power conferences or whatever. And so it doesn't leave a lot of talent out there, the top elite talent out there, to be in those mid-tier programs. So we'll see if this plays itself out this year in the NCAA tournament. And is it a sign of maybe what is to come for college football? Because we actually had a little bit of parity this past year with Notre Dame going into the national championship game against Ohio State in a college football playoff that's been so dominated by the SEC. But the last 2 years, the Big Ten has won the national championship game. But things to keep an eye on in this NCAA men's basketball tournament. Rarely does the SEC tournament champion win the national championship.
Oh, cool.
But Florida is on a hot streak, and they've been playing very well the last 2 months of the season, not just these last couple of weeks. Often you see teams that win conference tournaments, they're only hot for about a week and a half going into the tournament, or even then. But Florida's been hot for last 2 months. They've just hit their stride. So they feel a little bit different from past SEC tournament champions. But we'll see. It'll be weird if not weird, but if the SEC breaks all those records, 14 teams in the field, and they don't win the national championship this year, is that a disappointment?
I mean, yeah, I think so.
What if they don't get any teams in the Final Four?
I think that would be very sad.
That would be sad. It'd be disappointing.
Be disappointing. I think that would, because conferences like to make money.
They love the money. Get them NCAA tournament units.
Yeah, so they would be sad to be missing out on dollars.
Mm-hmm. Dollar monies.
They like monies.
Dollar bucks. Okay, so that's our NCAA tournament special. 2 people who don't really follow college basketball all that much, and of course
one who doesn't even know what a screen is.
Yeah, and so
there you go.
You decide to tune into this for whatever reason. We just want to record something because we're bored.
Oh, I'm just dying to find stuff to do. I have nothing else to work on.
Okay. All right. Well,
I had fun, though.
I had fun, too. And it was interesting comparing brackets because I didn't realize they'd be so similar. But it's a chalky year.
It's a chalky year. I feel better about my picks, honestly. Or you should feel worse.
I don't know. I don't know what I'm doing, really. No one really does. There's never perfect brackets.
Has there ever been a perfect bracket?
I think there has been. Now that I think of it, I don't know. I think there has been.
Yeah, it can't be often, though.
No. There's no way.
Right.
I don't know.
Not every year, right?
I'm sure there's stats out there.
Because I know there's always the little update, so many perfect brackets left,
right.
And then it's just it just goes away because
I don't know.
The bracket busters and all that.
I don't know.
Okay.
Well, that was Basic as Football, Basic as Basketball Edition. Basic AF, BAB.
BAFB.
BAB.
Whatever. All right.
What? Oh, my. Bye.